The other day, I was searching the dark depths of the internet looking for a way to make some passive income when I stumbled across a niche Steam game with zero reviews. Although I was skeptical at first, I was shocked to discover that I had found a game that was indeed about gambling in Las Vegas. Las Vegas Gambling Simulator. I quickly downloaded the game and jumped on. I was greeted by a painting on a wall. Oh my god. Viva Las Vegas 2025. Bring on the new year. I was then shown the beautiful sights of a casino and the beauty of the Las Vegas landscape. It looked a little bit different than it did in The Hangover, but that's okay. That movie's like 15 years old anyway. A strange man started telling me some important lore, so I skipped ahead. I woke up in the dead of night. I was greeted by Frank Sinatra, Morgan Freeman, and that one guy that got felled up by a bear in Jackass Forever. Wow, what a trio. They would have some killer parties. Frankie Boy pulls out a gun and shoots me. What the fuck? I'm just here to play a little bit of blackjack. Maybe slap a few pokey machines too. Why am I getting shot in the first 3 minutes of this game? Now it's personal. My objective is clear. Kill Frank Sinatra and then put my money on the dogs. Or at least, do both at the same time. I wake up to a man fondling me. Why does this keep happening in Bethesda games? He then asks for my name, and then I finally get to create my character. I once again had the goal of creating the most beautiful man in existence. I got to work carefully crafting my character. I took time to go through every individual setting, making sure I made the second coming of Christ. I recreated that I took a photo every day video, and then had the tough choice of choosing a haircut. I narrowed down my decision to having a comb over or a nice little haircut called the Unsettler. I think the latter cut pretty much sums up my character, so I went with it. I picked this sexy patch of facial hair and I finished. Baldy then strangely ducked down and I finished. I then walked over to what I assumed was my very first gambling outlet. Yippee! Unfortunately, it was just some skill points bullshit. He then invites me to sit on his couch and he starts asking me some strange questions. I go along with it and think I scored pretty high, but he continues to ask me some more questions. And honestly, I still have no idea what the relevance of any of this was. After this, he tells me to talk to some lady in a saloon, and holy shit did I need a drink by this point. So I gladly did as he said. I head outside and I am literally blinded by the light. I see a big deformed goat, and after inspection, I decide to gift the big boy 7.5 grams of lead. I find the saloon and head inside. I then meet a young lady with the worst accent found on the 7 continents of this earth.
She won't bite unless I tell her to.
I ask her to teach me some survival skills, and she tells me to meet her out back. I take a quick pee break, and yes, I pee sitting down. Then I go meet her. She tells me to shoot some bottles, and to my surprise, I shoot better than Thomas Crooks. We then gleefully hop onwards into the desert, and she tells me to shoot some geckos, and holy shit did these fuckers scare me. I shoot them like I'm in my Modern Warfare Prime, and she leads me towards some more geckos. We kill them with ease, when suddenly she runs off. I find her in the distance, and watch as more geckos rip an old lady to bits. The American lady victim blames the poor old woman, and then sends me on an errand to find her some flowers for a little concoction. What seems like an easy quest turned out to be the hardest thing I've ever been through. I killed some praying mantis, entered the school, killed some more praying mantis, looked around, exited the school, did a lap, entered the school again, looked around some more, exited the school again, jumped over a fence, checked the map, entered the school again, and exited the school again, before I finally found the first ingredient. Feeling bad about myself, I made my way through the town towards the cemetery. I killed a massive scorpion, which I'm fairly used to in real life. In fact, it's actually smaller than the ones you see in Melbourne CBD. I arrive at the graveyard and kill a giant fly before finding the final ingredient. I bring my plunder back to the American lady and she tells me to make something called healing powder. Finally, this game is starting to actually sound like it's set in Las Vegas. She tells me to go talk to someone called Trudy, and feeling like prime Walter White, I set off. Back at the saloon, I found a mean man picking on Trudy Woody. He threatens her to tell him where Ringo Starr is, and awkwardly bumps into me on the way out.
Subscribe to Josen.
I meet Trudy, and she tells me that a gang of ex-prisoners are looking for Ringo Starr. I started fanboying and left to find the drummer of one of the best bands of all time. I'm told he's held up in the gas station, so I enter with a poster of him, ready to sign. But instead of finding Ringo Starr in there, I find Woody from Toy Story, holding a pistol up towards me. Woody then tells me about how people looking for him are going to attack soon, and I must recruit the townsfolk to help protect the town. It was a bit weird as a stranger to be asked to try and convince the actual inhabitants of the town to protect the town. But hey, who am I to judge? I asked the American lady and she instantly agrees to join. Who knew that it was so easy to convince an American to shoot people? She then tells me to go recruit more people to join the defense. So I ask good old Easy Pete if he can spare any dynamite to protect the town. He refuses, rendering him a certified op. So I head off to ask Trudy for help. Her door seems to be closed, so I break in and find her sleeping. I instantly wake her up and demand she fights alongside me and Woody. She agrees to help and tells me to go to the general store to ask some other dude to help us. Wow, this is some riveting gameplay. I decide to try Easy Pete again and stand over him as he sleeps, but this intimidation tactic doesn't work, and he decides that he wants to remain a certified op. God, I hope he dies soon. I then ask the doctor if he can help. He agrees, but honestly, he kind of owes me one after the shit he did at the start of the game.
Good.
Finally, I head back to Woody and tell him that we are ready. When the American lady comes in and tells us that the gang is already here, we head back to the saloon, and as I'm admiring all my fellow town defenders, I get shot in the head. Wow, I'm starting to get a bit sick of getting shot in the head in this game. We begin shooting back. This is an epic scene straight out of a movie. I felt the immersion rushing through my blood. I felt like Rango or Arthur Morgan, two of my favorite cowboys of all time. I kill the last guy and look back at the devastation that this battle has caused. Woody gives me some money and tells me to meet him later to get more money from him. Sounds like a date. Whilst scavenging through the dead bodies, I made a gruesome discovery. Judge Trudy had died in the gunfight. After being told about how much of a valued member of this town she was, I thought the townsfolk would at least give the slightest fuck about her death. But no, everyone just immediately headed home, like none of this had just happened. So I decided to try and do some more investigation into those silly folk who shot me earlier, which led me down the open roads of the desert. I made the tough decision not to gamble just yet, before being immediately attacked by the pro-fun police. I'm sorry guys, but life isn't all about gambling. Sometimes you need to put the chips down and pick up the gun instead. I killed them all before stumbling across their little hideout. After getting exploded twice, I continued down the road towards my objective, before getting cut off by a man who seemingly got lost on a 1950s African safari. He tells me the town I'm entering is off limits, so I tell him to do one, and enter anyway. I sneak around the seemingly abandoned streets of the town until I'm met by more gangsters who quickly taste my bullets. I then enter the closest building and I meet a human sultana. And remember the important lore I skipped earlier? Well, it turns out I'm some sort of FedEx worker and I was kidnapped whilst completing a delivery. The sultana tells me that the deputy of the town can help me find the lost delivery and the men who shot me. Unfortunately, the deputy had been kidnapped, so I had to go rescue him from the building opposite us. But first, I have a look around at the building that I'm already in and quickly realize I'm currently in my first casino of the game. So naturally, I gamble all my caps away and set off to save the deputy. I find out that the deputy is held in a casino that the gangsters have made into a base. You can kidnap all the law enforcement officers in the world, but as soon as you block my ability to gamble, I will seek revenge. I walk across the street and enter the casino, and to my utter shock, the gangsters haven't done as much as give this place a dusting. Truly a cleaner's worst nightmare. I pull out a shotgun and start blasting fools. This was my Terminator 2 Arnold Schwarzenegger moment. I find the main part of the casino and continue to act like I'm an American high school social outcast. I finally find the deputy and holy shit, it's the star of Fight Club and mass adopter, Brad Pitt. I force Brad Pitt to help me kill the rest of the gangsters, but unfortunately, he just stands around and watches as I clear the rest of the casino. We get outside, and he tells me that he overheard Frank Sinatra and the boys saying they were going to a different city. The gambling to work ratio felt a bit off, so I decided to head back to the casino for a light 30 minutes of gambling, when I predictably got hooked by the flashy colours and the smell of urine, and ultimately lived out the rest of my life rotting away on a pokey's chair, never to be seen again.